Welcome, loyal fans. My name is Matt Armstrong, and once again, I am your host for today. Today, we race the third round of the Manufacturers' Cup. This race is held on the Interlagos track in Brazil. As announced earlier, in this series, we have different cars to use for some races. This specific race needs to be driven in the Group 4 car of the chosen manufacturer. In the case of Volkswagen, that is the Scirocco. We know Herbie can hold his own in a battle with Group 3 cars. Now we are going to find out if we have a competitive Group 4 car as well. Qualifying for this race will be the default 5 minutes. The race itself is pretty short this time. 12 laps is all we get. Only the Racing Hard slicks can be used, and there is no mandatory pit stop. Sadly, that makes it just a glorified sprint race. The longer format races are usually more enjoyable to race and are also more forgiving in case of mistakes or incidents, but we'll have to make the best of it. Lastly, Dorna's best practice lap was a 1 minute 40.866. As such, any lap around the 1 minute 41.5 range is considered good pace. One more thing before we actually go racing. When Herbie was introduced, we did a nice reveal of the car and livery. Let's do that once again to be able to take a closer look in some glorious settings. With all this out of the way, let's take a look at some actual racing. Due to traffic in qualifying, which can be a tricky thing here, the start has to be done from P6. Seeing this as a highlight race, we are expecting some things go downhill in this race. And that is not referring to the track itself. There is plenty of contact everywhere in this race, and sadly that is to be expected. The Group 4 cars are a bit slower and more forgiving for mistakes. This means cars will stay together closer, and everyone can use the mantra of rubbing is racing. And there are going to be plenty of people rubbing each other in this race.
What?
Oh my days, going 3 wide into a corner is never a good idea. qualifying time for the second race was about the same, but the lobby seemed a bit stronger in pace. Only a 10th place on the grid this time. That was rather disappointing. If it wasn't for the unnecessary mistakes in the race, he could have fought in the front part of the group for 4th place. The pace was there, and people in this lobby actually raced rather clean. None of the dumb dive bombs like in the first race, and there is only one race left. If that one is a dud, it might cost some more points. But on the other hand, the points for this 7th place aren't too good either, so there is not much to lose. And as you can see here, he took the gamble for another race. Qualifying was completely ruined by getting stuck behind a slow driver though. It's about half a second slower than the previous 2 qualifying sessions. But this lobby is a bit weaker it seems, as it is still a 9th place on the grid. A previous qualifying time of around 1 minute 41.5 would have been around place 4 or 5. Hopefully that extra pace can pay off in the race instead. Nice bit of lag there with a big group of cars. It would be nice if some mistakes are made in front that can be taken advantage of. And that's 2 cars now taking advantage of the roadblocks that keep being thrown up by the drivers in front. With all the fighting going on, it's hard to overtake, and it loses all connection to the drivers further up the field. And people that keep diving into corners, messing up the exits, don't help a lot either. The nature of the track is that you have to really sacrifice corner entry to get a good exit, but that also invites other drivers to just park it on that apex. Those drivers are really not thinking long term, and end up making you lose connection to the pack in front. Sadly, the baguette in front managed to make the corner work, even costing Dordanov even more time. He does have more pace than most drivers around here. It's just almost impossible to take advantage of it here. Let's see if he can make it stick, making use of the extra exit speed towards the straight. And that's a dive bomb if I have ever seen one. Nowhere near close enough to make it stick, and only managed to make the corner by slowing down on the other car. And to pour salt onto the wounds, Dordanov gets a 0.5-second penalty for track limits, and no punishment for the baguette pushing him off track. Let's take a look at that from his perspective. Yay, very nice. I'm sure that's how they teach people in the Baguette School of deep diving things. Sure, and why not another dumb mistake, because he had to swerve around the BMW. It's not like he is in last place. Yeah. Let's see if he has more luck overtaking the Baguette a lap later. And there we have it. But he is still close. We don't know what French tricks he still has up his sleeve. What the hell happened there? Let's take another look at the Baguette camera. I'm not sure if that was a shot at taking someone out or overtaking them. Regardless, he clearly needs more lessons at the Baguette Deep Diving School. Anyway, that mistake combined with the 1-second penalty should make sure he stays far behind now. take a bit before we get the next piece of action, so let's skip forward a bit.
Monster. Skip!
We jump towards the start of lap A when Dordanov is approaching some cars. A bit of lag caused him to slightly tap the Super off course. Luckily he remained in control there. And another easy overtake on the straight due to some overspeed. That is by far the easier and safer way to do it. By now though, all the cars in front are really far off. We will skip towards the final stretch to the finish line.
The castle. Skip!
Too bad. An 11th place is all that was attainable. The nature of the track and the short duration make it almost impossible to recover towards the front from the midfield. Of course now Dordanov is sad he didn't just take the points for the 7th place from the second race, but sometimes you just got to take the risk for something more. On to the next race, hopefully that will be a much better one.